Good evening. How are you doing? Yeah, that's two of you. Brilliant. How are the rest of you doing? It's not the start of a really bad stand-up, all right? But it might be. Welcome to Doncaster College, and thanks for coming here tonight. It's really lovely to see all your faces, and we've been walking around as you've been coming in, and there's already so much excitement out there. It's been building and building, so we're really, really happy to be here. Can I just see, first of all, I just want to know who we're working with. So, by show of hands, have we got any hairdressers out there? Yeah, we've got hairdressers here, guys. It's really good. And have we got any barbers in the house? We've got some barbers in the house as well. Fantastic. And then the rest of you, I guess you thought this was some sort of like really bad Take That sort of tribute act, yeah? Do you know what I mean? It might be. It might turn out for that. Now, we've got a really fun-packed hour and a half or so for you guys. We're not going to keep ourselves strict on time. We're here for about an hour and a half or so. And what we're going to do is we're going to share with you some men's haircutting. My name's Tony Wood, and I'm going to be your host. I'm basically going to be talking you through the evening. And then we've got some wonderful guys here who are going to do men's haircutting for you. We're going to do some men's hairdressing. We're going to do some barbering. And we're basically going to share with you from Stafford Education, men's hairdressing, styling, barbering, where it is now and where we think it's going into the future. So do you think that'd be a good hour for you? Yeah? It's going to be a bit more than that. We want to get you guys involved as well. So we want to be, we've got inspiration for you, but we want to get some debate going as well. Barbering and men's hairdressing is really as high as it's ever been now, isn't it? Do you agree? Yeah, it's absolutely out there. So we know the passion there is high, and we're very passionate about it. I'll introduce these guys in a minute, but we're so passionate about men's hairdressing, men's haircutting and barbering, and tonight really is for us to all basically just jam and talk about that where we're at with it. Is that cool? Cool. Brilliant. Before I tell you about these guys, I'd like to tell you a little bit about myself. My name's Tony Wood. I've come all the way up from the south coast of England, a place called Portsmouth. You know that? Basically, you just keep going down south till your feet get wet, then you stop. Alright? So we're in a port down there. It's a great place. It's where I grew up. It's where I started hairdressing in a college, very much like Doncaster, at the age of 16. And now, unbelievably, you won't believe this, I've been hairdressing for 35 years. Ooh. Okay. And I will call myself a hairdresser, I'm not a barber. Okay? I'm a hairdresser. I'm a unisex hairdresser, but from day one, my first haircut I did when I was about 14, 15, was a men's haircut. And I did it in my bedroom with my mum's dressmaking scissors. It didn't go quite as well as I imagined, because they're those little, you know, the little zigzag ones. Pinking shears, I think they're called. So it didn't go that well. Nowadays, I've got a great salon down on the south coast. We've got a big team in the salon. We do men and women. I've also owned 3 barbershops down on the south coast called the Barbership. So if any of you guys want to see what we do in barbering as well, that's what we do down there. I'm also lucky enough to educate. I've been educating for about 15 years, and I educate for product companies. And one of the things I've been doing for about the last 5 or 6 years is educating for Stafford. So Doncaster College is a Stafford education centre, and we will tell you a little bit about that along the way, but I'm very proud to be helping educate within LSE for about the last 6 years. Okay, so that's kind of what I do. Tonight I'm just going to be talking you through where we are, but I'd like to introduce you to these guys first. This guy over here, he's an international hairdresser. He's come all the way from Denmark. Yeah, well, lovely record.
I'm feeling the love.
Mike's come all the way from Denmark just to be with you for tonight. So I'll just hand over to him and he'll tell you a bit about himself.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. As Tony said, my name's Michael. First of all, isn't he a lovely host? I think we should get a frock out for him or something like that, I think. Okay, my name's Mike Saunders, and I feel like it's like stars in your eyes or something like that. Tonight, Matthew, I'm going to be a hairdresser, okay? I am a hairdresser, okay? So I'm going to be sharing with you from a hairdresser's point of view, a hairdresser's perspective on men's hairdressing. And there's a lot of hairdressers out there, so I'd like to ask some questions a little bit later as well. I've been cutting hair exactly the same amount of time with Tony, because we were at a youth training scheme together 35 years ago. And I've had a salon on the South Coast for 25 years. I'm an educator for Lee Stafford Education. So basically what I do is I go round and I share Lee Stafford Education with one of our colleges that we're partnered with. So we're partnered with 15 colleges at the moment. I've also been an educator for product manufacturer as well. And yeah, I'm going to crack on with his haircut. He's had it cut not so long ago, wasn't it? Yeah. So he's had it cut, I think within the last sort of 9 days he's had it cut. He's not happy with it, okay? He actually went to a barber's, okay, pay for what you get. Yeah, he didn't pay a lot of money for it. And he's not happy with his hair, so we're going to sharpen it up and put a smile back onto his face, okay? So that's who I am, Mike Saunders, and I am a hairdresser, okay? Cool, thank you.
Thanks, Mike. It's like, my name's Mike Saunders, I'm a hairdresser. It sounds like he's apologising, doesn't it? It should be for hairdressers in this world today. I'd love to introduce you to someone else. Myself and Mike, we work for Lee Stafford all the time, and we go around all the colleges. But tonight we've got a special guest with us, and this will unfold, and I want you guys to get involved in this a little bit later. But would you agree that there's a bit of a barber, hairdressing, hairstylist debate going on in the world? Would you agree about that? That's why we want to talk about that. We'll involve you guys a little bit later. So we can only do that, we can only genuinely do that with you guys if we are barbers. Now I'm not a barber, Mike's not a barber, but I know one. And he's not just a barber, he is the South Coast Barber of the Year, 2 years running. He's also Hampshire, and Hampshire is quite a big area sort of on the South Coast. He's also Hampshire Barber of the Year this year as well. So he's a guy that I've known for many, many years, picking him up. He knows his stuff about barbering, but he'll tell you a little bit more about himself and his story.
I'm not quite as gifted as these boys when it comes to talking on mics and stuff like that. So I might mumble occasionally, and I will shuffle about anxiously. But once I'm cutting, I'm okay, alright? Yeah, I've been doing it for like 25 years. I love it. There's nothing better than this industry that we're in. Like we said earlier, we're going to touch on some sort of things that seem quite controversial at the moment. Who's better, male hairdressers or barbers? We'll find out. But it's about sort of what are we doing? What is this industry doing? Where are we going with it? Is there stuff that we have from both of us that can kind of pull together? That's pretty good enough for an introduction. I'll pass it on.
Thanks, Joe. He's got a lovely gentle voice, hasn't he? For a barber, do you know what I mean? He's got a lovely soft voice. Jamie, how long have you known each other? 20-something years?
Yeah.
And I count Jamie as one of my group of friends. I've got this great group of friends. I mean, I'm so lucky, but I've got this great group of friends that over the years, I'm 51 now, and I've got this great group of friends that over the years, we've kind of all developed like a similar look. I don't know if you know anyone like that. And we walk down the road in our local area and they go, "Oh, I saw your brother." And we go, "Yeah, which one?" They go, "No, not the one that's, you know, the other one that's your brother. Was he your uncle or your cousin?" And we have, haven't we? We've got about 6 of us that all kind of look a bit similar, like...
Just scruffy.
Well, you've lost a bit of weight lately, haven't you? So you're looking good, but...
That's the black t-shirt.
Yeah, most of us are a little bit chubby, a little bit hairdressery, a little bit barbering, white beards, white hair. And yeah, it does make us laugh, doesn't it? We sometimes pretend to be each other just for kicks. But no, known Jamie a lot of years, and like you said, he's a fantastic barber. So any barbering questions that you ask me that I can't answer, I'll be pointing you on to him. Is that cool? So how are you guys doing? All right? Very quiet out there for a bunch of hairdressers.
And barbers.
And barbers. You going to be quiet all night? Look at that. Have you got any questions for us at the moment? Are we doing alright? Do you like us? Yeah. That's not a bad start, is it? That's always... You know that first few moments, whatever you are, but do you know those first few moments with a client? You don't know if they like you or not, do you? It's quite important, isn't it? You put out all your best stops, don't you? Your best smile and everything. Just try and get them to like you, because that makes it a lot easier, doesn't it? It's a bit like that, so you guys getting on the way, are you just working away?
Just working away.
Working away, well that's cool. Well, we've got another special guest for you tonight, and this is the guy that I met a couple of years ago, who I've got total respect for, even though he's not a southerner, right? He's from your neck of the woods. Well, he's not, is he? Where are you, Paul? You're from Wales, aren't you, Paul? Paul's from Wales, but he actually works at the college here. He's one of the lecturers here. He's going to join us on stage and do a bit of haircutting for us as well. So, without further ado, Paul, bring him up, mate. And Paul is someone that I met, say, a couple of years ago, and he's just such a lovely guy, but he's got the most gorgeous, deep, flowy voice as well. So, when you hear him talk, honestly, it melts you. It's one of those voices. Isn't it, Paul?
Yeah. He's going to go, oi!
Oi!
Oi! Got one of those lovely voices. Oi!
One of those lovely voices. Okay, so just let Paul get settled there. Give me 1 second. So, we're none of us at Stafford. You got that, yeah? Myself and Mike are part of Lee's art team. Jamie's a barber, Paul's a lecturer here. But we're representing him and we're looking at men's hair cutting and men's hair generally and where it's been for us. As I say, I'm a salon owner. Most of you are salon owners, are you? Show of hands, salon owners here? Or barber, shop owners? Few of you? Cool. So from my perspective, it's really interesting where the male grooming market is and where what men are into at the moment. And we want to just sort of have a little look at that today and sort of see where all that's going. So, Paul, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself and being at the college?
Yep.
Yeah? Is that cool?
Yep.
Hi everybody, I'm Paul. I'm a lecturer at the college. I've been hairdressing for 37 years, but I do have a bit of a barbering background as well. Because when I did my training, we did ladies hairdressing, but once we qualified, we went upstairs into the barbering shop to sort of like perfect our skills and things. So that's where my gents cutting comes from working in the barbering shop when I did the training. I've worked at Doncaster College as a lecturer for 15 years, and for the last 2 years I've worked with Lee Stafford Education as the college is a Lee Stafford Educating Academy. So I've had to do my level 2 for Lee Stafford and I've just completed my level 3.
Thank you, Paul. I'll let you get on there, mate. Yeah, definitely a round of applause. So you've been hairdressing longer than me?
Yeah.
Cool. I thought I was the oldest one here. So these guys are going to get underway a little bit, and we're going to tell you a little bit about Lee Stafford Education and our role and what we do. I know Mike will touch on it as well, but we're lucky enough. We travel around the country. We come into colleges like this that are already fantastic colleges. But what we do is we bring along some systems and some ways of cutting that are really consistent and really well delivered. And we spend time with the lecturers of the college, and we don't retrain them, we just show them our systems and the way that we do things. We show them a recipe for every discipline that there is, and then we work with them at getting a consistent delivery on that. And the idea of that really is to raise the standard of that particular college, and really to give that college an edge over the colleges up the road. So myself and Mike spend a lot of time doing that. Now, most of what we deliver is hairdressing. And there's only, of all the things we deliver, we call them recipes, there's a recipe for everything. So it's a little bit like if you want to make an omelette, there's a recipe, right? So it's a little bit like that. So there's a recipe for a big bouncy blow dry. There's a recipe on how we do highlights. There's a recipe for a graduated bob. And one of the things we say is that the way the system that we use is not the only way to do, let's say, a graduated bob. But it's a really good, consistent one that if you follow it, you'll get a good outcome every time. And it's designed for young people or people new in the industry to be able to get a very strong outcome very quickly and fill themselves with confidence and then to move on from there. So we're lucky enough to go in the colleges and do that myself and Mike, and it's great fun. We get to meet lots and lots of different people from different places. And we get to come to places like Doncaster. I mean, how lucky are we? We got in last night, didn't we, Mike? We did. We got it. We travelled like 6 hours. Do you know what I mean? Like picking up from Stafford on the way, 6 hours. And we travelled up last night, and we went to go out and get a little bit of food last night. And Mike said, I know this really nice curry house that we're going to go to. He said it's about 20 minutes walk, but we could stop and have a pint on the way. I said, yeah, that sounds nice. I didn't realise we'd been walking through the centre of Doncaster on St Patrick's night. Thanks, mate. We felt obliged to have 1 or 2 Guinness. It was wonderful. But we met some lovely people, didn't we? Yeah. There was one lady, I unfortunately had face tattoos, and I was asking her about her face, but it was just a shambox. Smudged a bit. It smudged a little bit to her foundation. Yeah, she was lovely. I can't remember her name. What was I saying, Mike? Are you following what I'm talking about?
Yeah, her name was Bob.
Her name was Bob.
Yeah.
No, oh, that's it. Yeah, we get to go to all places like Doncaster and some really nice places actually. We're going to the next one we're going to is in Wales. We've got 3 new colleges in Wales, and I can't wait to go to Wales. I was talking to Bob today.
One of them I've trained at.
Yeah, going to Brecon. I remember going camping in Brecon Beacons when I was a kid. It wasn't good. We just got given a piece of polythene and told to make a tent out of it. It's cold and cold. So guys, how are you doing there? All right? Yeah, can I ask you a little bit about what you're doing and where you're at the moment?
Cool, okay. So obviously from a hairdresser's point of view, a hairdresser's perspective, first of all I'd like to turn around and say that what's going on with the barber market at the moment, what the barbers are doing, it just blows me away. I think they're absolutely outstanding, okay? The detail that they're putting themselves to, it's almost, for me as a hairdresser, it's made me up my game quite a lot. It's made me almost like retrain my eye to take faded down, and I feel that I can handle a pair of clippers fairly well. I've got 4 brothers, and when I first started cutting hair, because of brothers, I just started cutting men's hair. So it's almost like I cut my brother's hair and my dad's hair, and I feel that I can do men's hair fairly well, let's put it that way. And but what they're doing with their fades and stuff like that at the moment is something that my male market is probably 30% men and 70% women. Okay, I probably do 1 fade a day, and if I'm really, I want to be really honest with you guys, okay, 1 fade a day to be really, really good at it, to get it to absolutely millimetre perfect, is not enough, okay. Jamie will do a fade better than me, okay, and I'm pretty good at it, okay. So as a hairdresser, what I try and do is the client has been demanding me to go shorter and shorter. The client's in control of that, okay? And as a hairdresser, I feel that there's a shift taking place. Guys will still want fades. Guys will still want us to take it down to the bone. But I feel that look possibly is starting to look a little bit dated now. And as a hairdresser, I think that I'm starting to soften my work up a little bit more. I'm bringing more hairdressing skills into my gents' work, if that makes sense. So, for the hairdressers out there, would you agree with that? Simon? And what about the barbers? Because I feel that you're at the top of your game, you know, where you're doing skin fades day in and day out, and where you're doing so many men a day. It's almost like I feel this kind of work, you need to be in the saddle all the time to be doing it really, really well. Okay, and a lot of, when we go around and we educate people about, we educate salons about men's hair cutting, sometimes they're like a little bit afraid to take it that short. I mean, this guy, Jamie, would probably take this right down to the bone. He'd probably foil this. Okay, but that's not what I do as a hairdresser. I'm a hairdresser and not a barber. Okay, so I would probably, I'll take it down to a 0, but I probably wouldn't take it any shorter than that. And I think that's why a lot of hairdressing salons now, they have maybe a barber area or a barber seat, and they actually have a barber in, or what they call a barber. They have somebody who specialises in men's hair who can take it right down to the bone. Does that make sense? So what I'm trying to do is share with you my perspective as a hairdresser, and Jamie's going to also share his perspective from being a barber as well. How's that sound? All right.
Thank you, Ron. You've got a little round of applause there, Mike. What were you clapping for? Do you agree with him? Yeah, of course, yeah. Michael.
Yes.
You said Jamie took it down to a foil.
Yeah.
As as opposed to a clipper. What do you mean by a foil? Because I do that. I am an hairdresser,
Right.
barber.
Yeah.
But I use a cutthroat to take mine down.
Excellent. Okay. The best person to answer that would be
Jamie.
The barber.
What's a
but
foil, Jamie, as opposed
but-
to a cutthroat?
but first of all, thanks for the question. Okay. Thank you very much, Jamie.
So the question was, what's a foil and how is it different from using a cutthroat to take it down to the bone? And at the same time, could I ask you what's happening or been happening in barbering for you recently?
Yeah, no worries. This is a foil.
Yeah, I thought that was.
Yeah, so basically it's like a shaver, but it takes it. Can you hear me when I'm moving my hand around? Can you still hear? Yeah, so it just kind of takes it right down. So it's effectively the same as using a cutthroat blade, only you're not. So you can sort of like buzz through and get it down. Sometimes I would go with a cutthroat, sometimes I'd go with a foil. It just depends what I felt like, really. You get so close with a foil that you don't necessarily always need to use a cutthroat.
Right.
Or you can even take it closer by using a foil and then finishing with a cutthroat. So you can kind of, again, just even, yeah, you're taking millimetres and shaving them into fractions of a millimetre. So that's kind of what Mike was trying to sort of say. Sort of barbering, especially when, you know, all this, the sort of fades and the peaky blinders and all this sort of stuff started, you're working with a level of hair that's so fine and so short that kind of the difference between a 0 and a 0.5 or a 0.75, it's extreme, but you kind of work it in. And you'll probably find as well that, you know, I don't think I'm the only one that's really geeky about it, but I'm using different sort of clippers as well. So I've changed all the heads on all the clippers, so I've got folding blades, I've got sort of like rounded taper blades as well as flat blades. So I don't know if there's any other barbers in here that do the same thing. You kind of completely just spend a fortune on Frankensteining all your tools, really. But again, it's so that you can get that difference between subtle little bits of hair. Is that answer? Yeah. What was the other question?
So what's been happening for you, barber, up to recent time, in the last couple of years, let's say?
Cool. Yeah, I think it's become quite trendy, isn't it, to be a barber now, and that's good, I think. It does mean that sometimes you are, and I'm going to sound exactly as the stereotype now, you've got tattoos, you've got a hat, you've got a moustache or a beard. Obviously some of the ladies do too, but it's that kind of like look, that kind of vibe that's going on. That's not
Why,
how
I'm
it
not a
always
barber
is.
then?
No,
God. No.
You're too beautiful looking.
You do what?
You've got to be a little bit,
What, a bit more?
yeah, just a little bit more. I forgot he does that, doesn't he? was I saying?
No, it's trending.
It's trending.
It's trending.
And it's good because it kind of, yeah, but he's doing it well. It allows an industry that, like historically, and I don't think it's unjust to say so, barbering was seen slightly less than hairdressing. You know, there was a lot of like swanky, cool salons, and there was a lot of like tiny little barber shops that did granddads and their granddads and their granddads, and then you had this sort of such a high standard of barbering was going unnoticed. Then you kind of got this transition where it became cool, it became trendy, so more people were entering into it. The barber shops themselves kind of started to ramp it up a little bit. Could be argued that they looked at salons and thought, well, why are they doing so well? What do we need to do? So they changed the way the barbers looked. Not the barbers themselves, but the shops. They started to kind of like think about the different styles, the different dynamics. So you've got like Dutch outfits, like, you know, the guys making Rosal and stuff. It's just, they're just pushing it just that little bit more. Losing it. I do this a lot. I'll just like get off on a tangent. Say again?
Prime example, Coronation Street.
Go on. I don't watch it.
You're not down Coronation Street?
No.
David Platt's opened the barbers.
Right. Well, there you go then. Yeah.
So I made a horror onto it.
It's definitely there, isn't it? I did used to watch. I remember, was it Alma? Was that the hairdresser that was there at one point?
Yeah.
Did you ever notice you only had one hand though?
Oh no, that was a long time.
That's the last time I saw Coronation Street. But yeah, like David Platt, it's all growing. It's getting more dynamic, and it's changing now as well. So that, you know, like Mike says, like if I was doing that hair, I'd take it straight to the bone and I'd use a foil. No, why would I? Why would every haircut be exactly the same? That makes no sense. What we're doing is we do a lot of close work, but it's all to do with the shape of the head, the shape of the texture, the little crevices in people's scalps and skins and shadows that their own head causes. So you don't just do that one please and take it down to zero. And I think that's where a lot of barbering and male hairdressing is blending a little bit. So, you know, we might kind of go, right, we want to texture the top a little bit. We want to kind of get a little bit of movement in there. If you're watching some of the stuff that you're seeing on Instagram and YouTube, the ones that aren't vaping on each other's heads and stuff, they're doing colours, they're doing patterns. It's getting a bit more experimental. So I think barbering and hairdressing, it's going to merge. It's going to have that central meeting point at some point.
We were saying that there's when you're cutting men's hair so short, there's just nowhere to hide, is there?
No.
Like, you know, if you're doing a long grad on a woman and it's out by a centimetre, not that you'd want it out by a centimetre, but by the time it falls into natural fall, you're not going to see it, are you? And you know, you could texturise a woman's haircut internally so much that it can be so variable in there that if it's half an inch or an inch out, it doesn't actually show. But a guy, you know, if you're half inch out on a guy, it's game over, isn't it? You know, it's almost like millimetre perfect, and there's just nowhere to hide, is there? And I think that's sometimes, especially with younger hairdressers, I think that frightens them a little bit. Would you agree? Yeah. You know, it's almost like quite scary to take that right down and, you know, have to be that precise with it. Right, cool.
It's great to start that debate, and we want to do lots more of that tonight. We want you guys to get involved very quickly on that as well. Just before we do that, I want to touch base with Paul on where he's at. And we talked about the LSE recipes, the Stafford recipes, and how they're delivered to colleges around the country. And we talked about how that helps the trainers in those colleges to deliver a consistent message. Now, most of that is hairdressing, not barbering. And there's only one of the recipes that actually really is one that could be used on a guy. And it's called a short back and sides with flat top. And it's a recipe that's rich in technique. It covers scissor over comb, it covers clip over comb, it covers over direction, it covers elevation, and it's not necessarily a man's haircut. It's a haircut that could be, I know Lee did it a lot on ladies first, and it can also be done on guys as well. It's designed to give young people who are just starting hairdressing a bit of a taster and a bit of a way of starting to pick up clippers and use clippers, and a way of a little bit of a taster and a way of getting confidence when you are cutting hair short. So I know Paul's been working with a version of this recipe today, and I'd just like to let him just talk you through a little bit about what he's doing and how that works for him. Is that okay, Paul?
Yeah, that's fine. Yes. Okay.
Hi, I've been working with the East Stafford shop back side recipes today. So what we've done clipper over comb on the side. We've used different grades of combs to gain a shortness and length as we work up to the top. I've polished off the back, worked it into the back, taken the weight line out of it, and on the top I've cut it quite square, and as I work towards the front I've been pulling it back to keep that squareness, to give a bit of length at the front. And what I'm just doing now is just going through the layers that I created earlier on, and I'm point cutting it to give it a bit of texture. Yeah, do you understand what I'm saying? So, yeah, okay. So when we put a bit of product on it, client will to wear it flat, I'll push it up because of the shorter bits that we've point cutted and texturized. Alright.
That's great, Paul, thank you. And while you're just before you start again, Paul, do you mind if I ask you, how has Lee Stafford Education, do you think, affected the college? Bringing the recipes in and working with, bringing people like myself and Mike.
Yeah, I think all of the Lee Stafford recipes are sort of standardised. So they're not really standardised, but it ensures that when we're teaching and demoing techniques, we're all showing and saying and doing the same thing across. What I mean by that is that every lecturer that teaches level 2, level 1, level 3 are teaching the same techniques throughout the levels. Because when you're teaching, you have to work to a certain standard. And it's making sure that, you know, when you've done those demos and you've shown the learners, they're hitting those standards as well to be able to get assessed and get the qualification.
Cool. Thank you, Paul. Wonderful. So guys, we've done a little bit of talking, and I know from last night, Doncaster people aren't shy. Well, they weren't last night, let's put it that way, in that Irish bar. All sorts of stuff was going on, I can't even tell you. So let me chuck the question out there again, and I don't want an answer from every one of you because that will take 4 hours. But where's men's haircutting, barbering been for you guys over the last couple of years? What's been really important? What's been coming out of it? What do you feel about it? Anybody want to share with us? Wonderful. Okay. Okay, so we're going to pause that question. We've got an important one for Mike. Mike, we want to know what you're doing.
Cool, okay.
Live.
Live?
Live.
Okay. Right, okay, so like you said, he's had a haircut that he wasn't happy with. Okay, so what I've basically done is we've had a chat about it, and what I've done is tightened up the sides. We've just boxed the sides off a little bit more so it's a little bit squarer. And yeah, basically blended it all in. There's a really heavy weight line there. And then through the top, what we've discussed is we're going to get a lot more texture in the hair. Okay, so because I think with guys' hair at the moment, we've had this like quiff thing going on for quite a long time, and then this longer bit, and it's flatter, and all this going on. And I think that we're bringing more and more texture into men's hair. So in the salon, that's what I'm doing. I'm pushing guys in to have more texture. Okay. So would you agree that there's plenty of ways to skin a cat? Okay, we can texture hair in many different ways, can't we? We can use thinning scissors, we can point cut it, we can use a bit of broken glass, razor, we can use anything we want. What I want to do here is I want a really chunky texture through the hair. Okay, so what I basically did was I combed the hair all forward. Okay, and then with the scissor, okay, we basically just run the scissor over the top of the scalp and open the blade. And what we did is we just torqued the scissor. So the part of the scissor that we're cutting with is like the shank. So I'm using the shank on it. And what I do is I go all one way, okay, diagonally, and then I come back the other way and go through it as well. And the technique actually, I didn't invent this technique, okay, I actually got this technique from Guy Kramer in Winchester. I went and did a men's course with him many years ago. And he called this his bias cut, okay, and I just use it all the time because you get this massive amount of like chunky texture in the hair. It's almost like you're taking like lumps of it out instead of a really, really soft texture. Does that make sense? Okay, so, but also you're in control of it. So if you're going to try this, what I tell them to say, just get a mannequin first of all. Just try it on a mannequin. Okay, I wouldn't try it on a real person straight away. And when you're in control of it, so it's basically how deep you go in with your scissor and how much you close your blade will determine how much hair you're removing. Okay, and after a while you get a feed of it and then you just know how much is coming out and how much you can take out. But you can already see through there, you're getting quite a rough texture, isn't it? It's quite choppy, almost like he's chewed it himself a little bit. Does that make sense? All right, so it's going to be really like, really textured and really, really good. Does that answer your question? For the... Yeah, for that. The only thing, a bit like texturising, if I keep doing it, okay, he's going to...
I actually thought when we came, we were going to see a demonstration of you doing it. No, listening. Looking tricky, but I thought we were going to go watching techniques. And I'm busy listening, or missing the techniques.
Okay.
Sorry for
So what can do a slow motion version for you there?
Yeah, I'll go through it, but I won't actually with the
okay.
scissors. Okay. So what I do with it first of all, just make sure the hair's fairly damp, not over wet. Okay, just so that we can control the hair. Okay, I combed it all the way forward, and then I start the front through here. Okay, and we open up the shank of the scissor, and it's actually the blade runs over the top of the scalp. Okay, and then we just torque our scissors through. So you almost like just feed the hair, or feed the scissor through the hair. So I come through one line through here, but I want to just stay off of the hairline, because if I go into the hairline, he's going to end up with a bit missing through the hairline. Okay, so I ran one through here. Okay, we just ran another one, probably like 1.5 inches back, like so. Okay, and then you almost like work into this like crisscross section, or crisscross shape. Come around the other side, and then we came this way around, over the top of the head. And then that's it done. Okay? But like I said, there's loads of different ways I could have razored this. Okay, I could have used texturising shears, I could have used thinning shears, I could have used like the alpha blades, which are the big chunky ones, a razor, but this does give a particular kind of look. It, you know, really is quite broken up, quite textured. Okay? Cool. No worries.
Thank you, Mike. And you notice our mic doesn't need a mic. It's ironic, isn't it? Yeah.
There's 2 mics.
So irony there. Don't apologise, we're here for you guys, okay?
It's just when it says a demonstration, I know there's a demonstration.
Yeah, absolutely.
Can I just ask a question? So would you say...
Yeah, absolutely. So, the way it works is you'll show anything you want, any questions you ask us, we'll do that. We'll get the guys to explain techniques. We had a little question from the back there also, which wants to know a little bit about Jamie's technique and what he's been doing over the last few minutes. So, if I can pass it to Jamie.
Yeah, basically what I've been doing is just sort of fading, blending, working it through. So it's a combination of sort of using, again, sort of started off with a clipper with a balding blade. So I don't know if you've come across those before. Essentially, the teeth are so small, so slight, that it just takes it real nice and close. The taper arm is obsolete. There's nothing to taper. The blades are so small. Which then you can sort of like funnel into the standard sort of clippers that you'd use. Then sort of working it in again with scissors. So you're kind of going quite close, quite into the skin, just to break up. So the idea is that you can just get that separation, so there's no solid lines. You can kind of work it, and that's what the whole thing of blending or fading whether you're going to the bone or whether you're going to like a four, the principle's the same. What I've done with the top is, I've not done very much to it at all because it's already cool, so there's no point really. I'm not going to cut it off just for the sake of cutting it. So what I've actually done is just slightly undercut, but not in a, like I love the leveller's way, just a slightly kind of like, get that little bit tighter on the sides. When you're working, particularly sort of with your kind of afro hair, it's kind of, the curl pattern can vary even within that, whether it's an S curl or an O curl. So there's no one standard type of curl to it. So you have to kind of like work the hair, get the shape as big as you can, and then kind of work that shape back down again. So it's a bit like kind of like cutting a bit of wood and then getting sandpaper and making it smooth. You know, you don't just get straight in. And what I've done with sort of product-wise is I've used a tamer. Can I say?
Yeah.
It's one of mine. So it's really nice. Smells great, completely vegan. And what this is a hybrid. So it's halfway between a balm and an oil. So it allows you to kind of get that moisture level in there. And you know, curly hairs are always lacking moisture. You need to kind of work it in. It kind of penetrates in, gets into the skin. Everything's lovely, really. And to the touch, it's soft. So it's not like you're putting stuff on and it's setting it hard. It stays nice and soft. It also allows you to kind of move the shape. So this, whether you're using this on hair or, I tend to use it a lot as well, to be honest, on beards. Are you guys doing a lot of beards at the moment? Love it. It's really good for that as well. So you just kind of like, it allows you to kind of that malleable play with it a little bit. You would have seen me kind of doing a lot of this rubbing and stuff with the heel of my hand, I would say shoe, even on my hands as well. And what that does is that, again, it just allows you to kind of get that transition texture. So a lot of the time you sort of try and use combs and brushes and you're just getting sharp lines in there and stuff. You want it soft, give it a rub. It's always a good thing to do. And then what I've done is just kind of worked moisturiser on it as well. Because again, when you're going close to the skin, you kind of get your boils and blades. It's damaging to the skin. You know, you're taking off the first two layers of the derm, so you want to make sure you put the moisture back in. So always use a little bit of moisturiser after you shave, or use oil before you shave, during you shave. It's really, really important. If you're, I don't know how many of you use like hot towel, cold towel, that sort of process as well. Yeah, you do that also when you. Oh yeah, sorry. And yeah, it's a Dyson. It's so quiet. You hear it? It's They are, aren't they? Yeah, I think they're really cool. It's like Thor's hammer. Say again? Oh, is it still within the 2-year warranty? Is it still within the 2-year warranty? Send that if you do. Just take his because it's not looking. And yeah, so working moisture in, and again, you can see where we've got a transition from like a nice little penny gels going into that kind of gathered up bit and styles. So when you're kind of working with sort of thread working into what is still kind of just changing out, it twists. So as you're kind of spinning the hair itself, you're stretching out the curl. And then as you kind of like get that bit of tightness to it and release the curl, it holds itself. So it kind of like, you can imagine me being in there. That's what it does. And that's why it kind of like has that nice kind of transition again from the kind of smooth first kind of element to those wilder aspects. And then there's awesome guys that I can't say credit for. He's grown them himself. That's kind of it, technique-wise. I think sometimes, and I'm sure you agree, it's not always about what you cut off, it's about what you leave on, because that's what people are going to be walking about with. So if you don't need to do something, don't. Why should you? You're in control, you're seeing what style you want to produce, how you want it to look. If you think something looks good already, even if it was someone else's work, why change it? It's about how they look when you're done. So little touches sometimes worked really, really well. Collaboration between the previous barber that's cut it. And I don't mean necessarily a different shop. I mean, I don't know if it's the same for you guys, but in my barbers, like, there's some people that will wait for a certain person, But the whole point of us is that it doesn't matter who you go with, because we're all good. So you can sort of just join in, hang out, and you get your hair cut. So if someone else has had another idea, and then I've cut his hair next, and then I've got an idea, there's no reason why they can't combine. It's that whole sort of, you know, even the shop, we quite often sort of stop, go across, and go, no, don't cut that bit off, that looks really good. Like, we'll interrupt each other while we're cutting, if you're seeing something that looks like it's going to work. And I think that sort of collaborative kind of thinking is really, really important. Cool.
Okay. Now, I know Paul's been waiting to dry there, so I'm going to talk through a little bit Paul's technique, because it's a bit Stafford recipe. I know exactly how he's done it, so I'll talk through a little bit. He's worked on his short back and sides predominantly with a clipper over comb technique. So using different sizes of combs and thickness of combs to actually get your graduation. He's actually worked from the top around by the horseshoe shape down, which is a little bit different from where we tend to work from the bottom upwards. And then through the top, which would have stayed disconnected while he did his short back and sides, through the top there he's actually worked with over direction. So what he's done is he's put in a horizontal line here on the top of the head, which is quite tight, quite close to the scalp. And then he's worked by moving forward with horizontal sections and each time bringing the hair back to the previous guideline. Okay, so when we work with this on quite short hair, and you see Paul's got that section there up there, when we work with this on quite short hair, we have a choice of changing our over direction and way we work. So we can either over direct everything in the top back to one guideline, or we could actually work it back and then move the guideline as we work forward through the head. And the difference to that will be the hair getting slowly longer or very quickly longer into a big quiff. And now I know Paul's putting some texture in that and working with that hair. Paul's model's hair was already fairly short, so it doesn't allow the big quiff effect, but he's working at putting some nice texture in there. Meanwhile, Mike looks like his chest about done there. You about done, mate? He's concentrating, isn't he? He's looking on it, isn't he? He's in focus. So guys, got any other questions for us at this moment? Oh, wonderful. That's a great question. So we've got a non-barber hairdresser in the audience whose son wants to be a barber. Yeah? Thinking about it? And the question was, how much does things like TV programs influence styles? Yeah, films like Vikings. And how much does those sort of things influence what people come into the barbers or the salon for? Jamie, you up for answering that one?
Yeah. Oh, yes. Massively, it really does have an impact. For us, we're really into beards and stuff, so when Vikings came along and suddenly everyone started growing beards, that made more business, so that was absolutely awesome. What we're starting to find a little bit with that now is that they're wanting braids, which is very manly and gruff, I'm sure. But it is one of those things that if you're going to go for the look, and you're going to say, yeah, we can hook you up, you kind of need to know how to do it. Would you agree? Like, if a dude wants a big flat, then give him a big flat. Right? Like, shake the sides up, make it look like a Viking. He'll do really well at the weekend, even with a plan. So, like, yeah, it massively affects it. Peaky Blinders was the other one you sort of said, wasn't it? That's a brilliant example of a haircut that became really popular and suited no one. It was horrible, really horrible, and I'm so glad it's starting to go, although there is another season coming out, so it might be back. And I like this connection. I think sometimes it's really good, it's really quirky. But if you're not going to dress like a Peaky Blinder, you really just got a bad haircut. There's no other thing about it. You know, it is literally like you put a little bowl on, cut around the edges, and then you walk like that. and it's like, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. So yeah, do bear in mind sort of subcultures, youth cultures. They're cyclic, so they come back round. I'm sadly old enough to remember a lot of the styles before. So I'm starting to see stuff now that I used to do when I first started, which kind of makes me happy because it means I know what to do. I'm ahead of the game. It's also a little bit sad because I've seen it the first time round as well, so it means that I'm getting old. Really. But the youth culture will always be there. Television programmes, footballers, everything. It's always going to be there. And the more it does, the better, because it keeps it interesting. It keeps you having to change up, to learn new things, master the look.
We had a good chat last night, didn't we, Jamie? Because we were saying that although we turned around and said you've got nowhere to hide, but especially when Jamie's taking it, I don't think I need it, especially when Jamie's taking it so short, it's like the head shape is the shape, isn't it? You know, and not everybody's head shape is brilliant, is it? Would you agree with that? And it's a bit like even a woman's haircut with a graduated, say a short graduated bob or something like that. We do a graduated bob on one client, and then we do exactly the same haircut on another client, and it doesn't quite go the same way. And that could be for a number of reasons. That could be for the difference in texture or the difference in the texture of the hair, or also it could be the lady's head shape as well. And that also goes for men as well with their head shape. So I think we have to be, you turned around and said you need to be so aware of revealing their head shape, didn't you?
Yeah.
Right, okay.
They kind of call out, yeah, I want it to look like this, or I want to take this, and then you go like that, and then there's not even a crown, it's just their head in the front. I'm sure you've all done that at some point, you've just kind of gone, oh, and then you've got nowhere to go, you've got to change the whole look, you've got to pretend you did it on purpose. But it's you just can't, you can't escape head shapes. It dips.
And a bit like Jamie touched on it a little bit earlier, and I think that consultation is really key in hairdressing. But I was quite surprised at the detail of consultations that Jamie does with his men's clients. Does that make sense? I don't know, from a hairdresser's point of view, that didn't shock me, but the amount of detail that he went into with his consultation, talking about texture of hair and stuff like that. If I'm really honest, he's talking a bit like a hairdresser. Jamie. And when I said to him, Jamie, do you want to use these Stafford's products on stage? And he went, And I went, that's for the hairdresser, the pink stuff's for the hairdresser, see, and Jamie's got the brown stuff, if that makes sense. It's quite interesting though, isn't it? Yeah. I don't mind a bit of pink, to be honest with you.
Yeah, we know.
Can I just say, first of all, obviously we can't do an event without our models, so can we just give a hand up for our models, shall we? I've actually finished Cam. I've sort of tidied him up a little bit and hopefully sorted his shape out. How's it feeling, all right?
Yeah.
You haven't seen it yet, though?
No.
No,
Feels
okay.
light.
So, but yeah, you can see that even though we took quite big chunks out of the top, it doesn't look like there's bits missing. It doesn't look wrong, but it's just got a nice texture in there, and it's the sort of work I do in the salon for the guy if he comes in, and this is Michael Saunders, and I am a hairdresser.
So guys, any questions for Mike on that haircut while it goes off? Yeah? Wonderful. Yeah. 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 Michael, are we permanent? Are we permanent men?
That's a really good question, because Cam that I've just done, I said to him, Cam, you up for a bit of colour today? A bit of colour on your hair, right? And bearing in mind, we've only arrived today, so we can't do on-scalp colour, obviously health and safety. Okay, but I actually turned around to Cam and said, Cam, would you be up for a little bit of colour? And he just blatantly went, no, because he's got his buddy sat around him. It's true, isn't it? He's got his buddy sat around him, and he's like, no colour for me, never, okay? And so, but we had a little chat with him, and we just worked him a little bit, and I turned around and said, look, I'd like to start you on a little bit of a colour journey, okay? And we literally just got a little bit of powder bleach, okay? And we got it on the comb, and because I was putting texture in the top of the hair, I just wanted a little bit of texture with the colour, just to start him off safe for him, if that makes sense. I don't want to colour his hair and he goes away and he doesn't like it, but I literally just got a little bit of powder bleach. We literally just painted it through, so he's almost got this like slight, very, very light sun-kissed hair if he'd been on holiday for a couple of days. Does that make sense? So as a hairdresser, I don't know whether you colour in your barber shops, okay, or whether you're incorporating colour, but as a hairdresser, I will try and get colour on my gents in a safe environment if that works for the look, okay? If it doesn't work for the look, I will leave it alone. Does that make sense? So as for perming, okay, what I'm going to do here, he's got a natural wave in his hair anyway, but what we could do, he doesn't know this yet, but we're not going to perm it, but if this was my client coming into the salon, the way he wears his hair, I would possibly be even thinking about a perm, okay? What I'm going to do is I'm going to finish the top of this hair in quite a different way. I'm going to actually tong it. Okay, so we're going to get a slightly more defined curl, a slightly different curl. We're going to tong it, okay? And now you might turn around and say, oh no, that in a barbershop, there's no way we'd tong guys' hair. They're never going to have it, okay? But the reason why I'd be tonging it is because I'd be thinking about possibly, for the look that we can get, possibly be moving into a perm. Does that make sense? So I can show him what it looks like before we permed it, before he's committed into having it done. Perming, yes, we are perming guys' hair in the salon, and we're seeing more and more of it now. Guys are coming in and having their tops permed. Yeah, it's almost like, me and Jamie spoke about it, it's almost coming hand in hand that guys are having more texture in their hair. And at the end of the day, some kind of movement in the hair, it's texture. So this is the sort of thing that we do in the salon. So I'm going to work this shaping. I am going to tong the top, and we're going to see what happens with it. Does that make sense?
So a lot of great info there, Mark.
Thank you.
Wonderful, thank you. But did it answer your question? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
How do I connect the zero phase?
Yeah. So I mean, we're all professionals. I'll speak openly here. There are times when we have to say to our clients, "This is a pair of scissors or a perm that I'm doing. I'm not Harry Potter, and it's not a wand." Right? There are things that we can and can't do, and we have to have the confidence to say, if you want a perm on top, but you want it all faded in, there will be a point where there's disconnection. Because I can't fade it in, I've got a perm in, a piece of hair, perm on in, and a piece of hair that long. So there has to be that disconnection, and we just have to explain how we do it and explain to the client, because they're influenced by pictures and what they want, but they don't know how it works. So sometimes we just have to have that confidence to explain to them. Is that cool?
And I think you're right in what you're saying, because obviously if you're going from a complete zero and then you want to get perm rollers in somewhere or get some kind of movement in the hair, you have to have a disconnection. In fact, this is quite interesting, because with guys, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying not to take them down to the bone, okay, because we've been doing that for, I mean, it's like, it's been happening for years now, isn't it? Okay, and as a hairdresser, I'm thinking, do you know what, I'm going to let them guys take it down to the bone, because I'm going to let them foil it, because that's what they do. Okay, that's not what I do as a hairdresser. Okay, so I'm trying to keep guys a little bit softer. I'm trying to keep them with a little bit more hair. And I don't think it would be long before we see guys growing their hair. You know, short back and sides is always going to be fashionable. It's always going to be there. It's never ever gone out of fashion, really. But I'd literally let them guys deal with that kind of work, and I'm going to be trying to build my own market for my salon. Does that make sense? You know, I want to make my own my own business within my own salon, you know, and that's maybe what a barber can't do. But Jamie's talking like a hairdresser. He's incorporating hairdressing into his barbering. You know, he's not quite using the pink products yet, but he's turning into a hairdresser. I can feel it.
I think you'll find that a lot of the stuff that we do actually started with barbering. Barbering, there were official barbers way before there were official hairdressers. And the tonsorial stuff that you're about to partake in would have been done throughout history in barbershops.
Yeah.
They're the ones that denoted the styles, they set those styles. Historians to this day still date their styles as that period of time. So,
but I think your question about perming, I think it will work better. I mean, I'm not going to take this down. One, he doesn't want it. He doesn't want a skin fade. So he doesn't want it taken right down to the bone. So I'm almost going to like taper the edges in, but keep a little bit more shape coming into it. And that way, then the perm, if he was to have a perm or some kind of curl, it sort of fits on the shape better. So it's not just completely off, and then you've got this bit. It's almost like that meet me at McDonald's haircut that worked but didn't work, if that makes sense. You know, it was great what happened, but for me, my personal taste, and we've all got different tastes, haven't we? You know, we all like different things, but for me, that just didn't work. It was almost like it was all gone, and then you just had this permy bit on the top, and like you said, it's really hard to get that to blend in, isn't it? So what I'd probably do is say, do you know what, he's having a perm, it is a softer look, it's more of a textured look, so I'm going to keep a little bit more hair through the sides and the back, so I'm actually sort of going hand in hand, I'm working with the shape instead of fighting against it. So I am actually going to leave it a little bit longer. But yeah, it's interesting stuff.
Thank you, Mike. The debate is just about to begin, I know. I'd love to let Paul just present his model to you. He's worked really hard there. I think he's done a cracking job. It looks wonderful, Paul.
Yeah, I've basically texturised it. I've left a bit of length in the front, as discussed earlier. So you can wear it down, but you can also just push it up as well. So he's got choice. So if he wants to change it, he's going to have to
let it. Paul's done for you? Give him a little bit of love.
It's quite interesting, the questions, you know, what would I do with this client? But I think it comes back to educating the clients as well about what you can do and what you can work with, what they've got and what you can work with. So, and don't be afraid to say, well, no, that's not going to work. Because your client at the end of the day will appreciate you for it.
That's wonderful, Paul. Thank you very much.
All right.
So guys, these two are going to get on over another cut now. We're sort of more than halfway through. I know there's going to be lots of technique for you to watch. Keep firing any questions. You guys have done some pre-done models as well, haven't you? You got some pre-done models? Not pretty models. Pre-done. Pre-done?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, we do.
Okay, so we'll bring them out in a minute. Should we get started first?
Yeah, I'll do this first. Then bring them out and talk about what we did, how we did it. Blah, blah, blah.
Okay.
A little bit of this one as well. What I'm doing is you can see the look he's got already. He's got like a nice bit of length on the top, slightly less around the sides. I'm going to smooth it a bit. It's going to flow a little bit more. I'm going to go through some multi-texture stuff on the top as well. So it is going to be about texturising. It is going to be about movement. It's not necessarily going to be a skin plate, but it's in places it's nice. But I'm going to eliminate a little bit. I'll just cut, and then you want to talk about it when I'm doing it, and just carry it in.
Jeremy? Thank you. So guys, any more questions? Where are we at? Get involved. Yeah, absolutely. So you haven't done this, Jeremy, have you? You haven't pre-worked on this one?
No.
Just your model came to you today?
Yep.
Yep, cool.
Second.
Can you work your way around?
The light goes in the eyeball. Let me try it a little bit.
It's hard when you're on that stage.
I could sort of do it like that.
They're not judging, Jamie. If it goes a little bit out, I'm sure it'll be lovely.
Maybe if you sit on his shoulders and then come from the back like that.
They do say barbers can be a little bit touchy, but I don't believe it. And, you know, they've got to have the light right and everything, haven't they, Jamie?
Yeah.
It's got to be perfect, the light, hasn't it?
Alright, reasonably so, we've got... We've got 3 barber shops, okay, and they're all very, very different. So, the first one is, please don't get offended by this, but it's exclusively male, females aren't allowed in. That is so that the environment itself allows the gents to kind of like chill out and relax. It kind of aids that sort of men's mental health. You know, it's nice to have a place where you can just chill out and do your thing. This will make some people really angry, but you'll be fine by the time I finish talking because I'll explain what the others are. This one really is. I'll be honest, when you're 40, you want to go into this room, you either behave or you have a fool, really. There's no two ways about it. You do change the way you talk, you change the way you stand. Blokes instantly suck their stomachs and do that. It's really uncomfortable for long periods of time, so it's much better just to not have the females in that room. It's a very opulent space. The second of drivers that we have is gender irrelevant. So it doesn't matter whether you're a boy or whether you're a girl or how you haven't decided or if you're going through some changes, everything is fine. So it's kind of, again, some people will not like the idea of being able to get your hair cut in the holes and you're a girl. That's one of those things. This is what Mike was badgering me about last night, saying, surely they mentioned a unisex hairdresser. I said, no, because it's still barbering, it's still the way I do things is barbering. It's not hairdressing. I don't do other hairdressers and things like that. It's just, if someone wants their hair cut the way that you cut it, they can come in. It really doesn't make any difference. The third shop, which is kind of where the lighting thing comes from, is completely off-grid. So we have no electricity, no lighting, no running water, no heating. It looks like a shed in an alley from the outside, but when you go in, it's got cobbled floors and really old furniture and proper antique dental chairs, which is our homage to the tradition of barbering. When you were dentists, you were surgeons, you did the whole thing. And that has its hardships, as you can imagine, not having electricity, not having lighting. So, 3:30 in the afternoon, I've got a torch in my head, otherwise I can't see anything. I've got some paraffin lamps sort of scattered about just so people don't trip over. But if you're sat there cutting hair, like, you wouldn't be able to see anything I'm doing in the mirror. All you'd see is hair flying off wherever it is that I'm cutting. This is true. Yeah, this is true. And the thing with when I first opened the first one, lighting was awful. It was in this little room. The room's beautiful. It's got stained glass windows, big fireplace, 3 plug sockets, 1 chandelier. So as you can imagine, cutting hair like that is not very easy. So I ended up coming in with loads and loads of lamps, and every time we come in, I'd have changed the layout of the shop, and there'd be lamps suspended weekly. It was a bit crazy. So his little dig about lighting was because of that, really. So yeah, 3 very different sort of barbers' shops, but it's the same approach in the building. It just allows people to find their space that belongs to them. So it's not about being a unisex hairdresser, it's just about doing what we do in an environment that suits different people.
Thanks, Jamie. But I'm just a hairdresser, so what would I know? Another question? Yeah. We did it as a little bit of a pop-up, didn't we? A little bit of the third one, the off-grid one.
The off-grid?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The question is, how busy is it? Does it work? Do you work in it?
Yes, sometimes it's really busy, sometimes it's not.
It's not very busy at night time.
No.
It's more popular during the day.
To be fair, it strangely started getting popular, and I'm not quite sure why, because effectively you're coming in and getting your hair cut, you couldn't see what I was cutting, how it looked when I finished. You're trying to show someone a back mirror and you've got to try and move your head to get the light. It's just weird. But yeah, there used to be queues all the time for night-time sessions. It's weird.
How does it affect your veins on such dark lighting?
He went to the old shop. No, I'm joking. Yeah. I think the thing is, I've known these two guys an awful long time. I've known Lee a long time. I'd speak for all of us and say that hairdressing, haircutting, barbering is fun, isn't it? Isn't it the most loved profession in the world or something? Aren't the people that go into it? The people that go into it are just like, we're just nutty, aren't we? And I promise I wouldn't swear up here, but we're absolute, well, I don't know. I mean, I'm only speaking for us lot, but hairdressers and barbers were a bit mad, aren't they? Yeah, alternative, yeah. So, you know, one of our great beliefs, and it does go down through the education in at least Stafford Academy, is that having fun in your job helps you learn and helps you enjoy your job and enjoy your life. And we've got a great belief in that, to the point we try things like we create a pop-up barbers with no electricity. You know, hundreds of years ago, how did they cut men's hair? Did they have electricity? So they did it, right? Yeah, the hand clippers, don't they? Yeah, we've got those, we use those, yeah. So we just play with things like that and we just have a little bit of fun, and we find that it makes our life good. We like it. We're a bit mad. Sorry. He's worse. Joe, are you able to move your back out of view now? Can you just... They want to sit... Can you go on one knee or something? How you doing, Mike? You doing alright? Should you bring one of your pre-done models out, or...?
No, I can't.
I didn't do any. Jamie did them.
Oh, Jamie did them all?
Yeah. He's quicker than me at doing them, see, so...
It's a barber.
No, okay. Who have we got pre-done, Jamie? Should we bring one of them out?
Yeah, bring...
Do you remember their names?
No, I'm not good at names.
You're not. I know you're not. Describe him.
Massive. He's like a mountain of a man.
The mountain of a man. If we have the mountain of a man whose name we got. Oh, here he comes. Look at him. Strapping guy.
See what I mean? Man mountain. Look at that.
Can I take a seat there for a moment, mate? Jamie, you've got time to tell us a little bit about what we did?
I can if you bring the mic over and hold it by my face.
Okay, I can do that. I can't do that. I can't do that.
You can do it. Oh, sounds all right. But don't get in the light now. Yes.
You mean use the light?
Basically, what we did. What was your name again?
Saul.
Saul. So what we did with Saul was he had used to have long hair. Used to have a top knot, all that sort of stuff. And he's been going through a phase of just sort of grade 1 in a row. Buzz. And he's a big strapping man, plays rugby, so he's got some sort of dinks and scars and stuff like that you accrue by being it happens. So what we've done is we kind of like moved away from just buzzing it all off. So went in with a little bit of a cheeky fade. And then what we've done is we've kind of really short textured the top. So it allows the hair to have just that little bit of movement, but it still stops you from seeing like the over-evident sort of like dinks and dents and stuff from his sporting career. We also kind of did a thing that I know a lot of hairdressers hate, barbers quite like it. We changed his hairline. It had like a bit of a widow's peak, it was coming up, a little bit of fracturing from when he used to have it top knot all the time. So we just cut it off, basically. It just makes it... So,
I don't know what to do with these.
just turn them on and then just buzz it around a little bit. People will think you're working. That's why. So getting a little cutthroat in and just kind of taking that hairline just a little bit higher, so you're kind of like doing almost like a little undercut on that hairline. But when you look at it visually, it doesn't look like it's been done, does it? It's kind of got that softness to it still, the texture's there, so you can still sort of see where the hair forms, I've just added hair to your forehead, so it makes it all over my fingers from the other guy. Brushing off. What we also did with his beard was just kind of brought it in a little bit. The little thing I always like to do is I'm just going to lift your head back a little bit. Can you see the arch underneath there? Can you see that? The chair's not turning. Pump it up a bit. Hey. Okay, head back again for me. So the reason for this arch, and this is something that I kind of always really insist on, is it sits around your throat. When you see beards and they're kind of like, boom, and then you get this little neck beard kind of creeping out, and it just looks rounded, and people kind of take a beard and they follow their jawline, forgetting that that only looks like that when you look at it from the front. From the side it goes halfway through your face. There's all these weird sort of things that people do. Cutting an arch in, it just allows it, like I say, to sit around the throat. So if you think you want a straight line on something that's curved, do a curved line. It makes much more sense. And you kind of can see sort of the angle that it's doing is kind of mirrored by the actual jaw itself. So you're kind of creating, in effect, two little triangles by the kind of the definition underneath. And what that does, the side profile, you see that lumberjack-esque chin that he has now. Pardon?
It's actually took that emphasis off his jawline.
Yeah, it's given it a better shape. It's kind of like allowed you to kind of like thin the face out a little bit as well. So you're sculpting. You're kind of like changing the dynamic of someone's face just by bringing in the beard, taking out that little arch underneath. And again, because we've gone nice and tight on the sides and left a little bit of texture on the top, so you can move it about, it works. We kind of like finished it with some salt spray and then put some clay on it as well, because his hair's quite fine and blonde. So anything too heavy, too gunky, too gluky, it's going to just separate and define it too much. So you want the coarseness, you want that kind of roughness to it. So yeah, that's what I made earlier.
Thanks, Tony. Thanks, Simon. Have we got any questions for Jamie about beards or moustaches or anything like that? We're on that. We good? We're good. It does a good beard, don't you, Jamie? I like it. You might quite often.
I think what I'm seeing in the salon a lot more now is I'm almost getting a real cross on women's haircuts and men's haircuts. So a lot of guys now that I'm cutting are actually having almost like a woman's haircut, like a graduated bob or a bob shape, but it's undercut. And even this sort of shape, it's almost a softer shape. Okay, we've actually got quite a strong taper through here. You could turn around and say, well, that's like it's almost like a short grad, isn't it? For the hairdressers out there, you're almost bringing a short grad in. It's almost like quite a feminine shape. It's a softer shape. So instead of just shaving it off and keeping it really boxy, what we've done is we've just started to round the shape off a little bit more. And by rounding the shape off, then it just starts to soften the shape up as well. And because we're going to have this softness on the top with this like curl bit, I almost wanted to follow that shape through there as well. And even through the back, we've got quite a... I've just sort of faded it in. I just took it down to, well, I took it down to a 0 actually, but quite quickly then we fade into a 1 and then a 2 and then it tapers up. But this is almost, I've kept quite a heavy weight line through there. And would you agree that that shape looks, it's a slightly softer shape? It's almost like not, I don't want to get in like masculine and feminine, but it is a softer shape, and a lot of the guys that we're doing, I am actually cutting almost, think about like the British Hairdressing Awards, you know, when you look at their photos, they're almost like, I was going to say like feminine looks, but they're almost like hairdressing cuts, aren't they? They've actually got like bobs and things like that, and I was hoping to have a model where I could almost like cut a bob shape in and like undercut it a little bit, but you know, we work with models that we've got. But yeah, I think I'm really putting a lot more ladies' haircuts on men. Okay, and probably the only difference is whether I want the shape to be any softer or whether I want it to be harder, and also the way we finish it as well. Jamie, you spoke about finishing guys' hair, didn't you? How you don't finish it. Let's put it that way.
No. We cut it so you don't have to finish it as much.
So
instead of like.
Here we go.
Here we go.
Yeah. We knew this was coming.
Yeah.
So this is what we were talking about last night?
Yeah. Well, no, think about if I, when I talk about men, but I'm a hairdresser, I'm talking about women as well. If I cut like a graduated, if I do a one length, above the shoulders haircut on a woman, I cut a bob into her, and then I start putting graduation on the shape, okay, the hair's gonna move a little bit more. I'm actually taking weight out of the hair. So what I do with a lot of my women clients is I actually dry them off, okay, and then afterwards, you can sort of feel whether their hair's too heavy or not, and then I'll get in there and texturise it. And I almost want the hair to start singing, I want it to dance, I want it to come alive. And that, for me, with a female client, is she's the one that then turns around and says, nobody cuts my hair like you cut my hair. You know, you've just got it, you just take that weight out, and then it starts singing and dancing and moving. And we had a discussion, don't you laugh? And he said, yeah, it's because you're not cutting it right in the first place. And I'm thinking, yeah, right, okay, well, I'll charge £100 a haircut, so, I mean, I don't mind, cutting her hair twice, it's like, but Jamie turned around and said, no, it's because I'm not cutting her hair properly in the first place. So talk about your method, what you do.
In general, or this?
Yeah, with your guys, I think, but you're cutting some women's hair as well.
Yeah.
So talk about that, how they, because you don't blow dry. He doesn't like blow drying it.
No,
he doesn't like that.
Boring. In it though, it's just, honestly, like a haircut takes 2 minutes and takes 40 minutes to make it straight. No, I like it cut. When you're cutting hair gently, it's cutting it. Again, it's like I said earlier, it's what you're leaving on. It's, you take bits off, you leave bits on, you push around a bit, things like that. When you're doing it yourself, you're going to spend 45 minutes with your head on your own lap, blow drying and getting this root movement and lovely bubbly stuff. No, you're not. You're going to go change the angle of the camera or going out, and then you're done. So my approach is more cut it off, get it in your shape, get it moving, get it there. Then when it comes to your products, I do like your products. You don't need a lot, you just need a small amount, worked in, worked on, it works. You don't need to do all that. Whether you're a guy or a girl, same thing. Don't come over.
So guys, we're going to try the last sort of half an hour now, so it's time to get questions out from these guys. You look like you've got one. What's in the spray that you were just using, Jamie?
Give me a little bit of favour.
Bit of favour.
Yeah.
And you put that in your water spray for...
It smells tough. You can get it from the wholesalers, things like that. Get it online. It's very amazing thing. And it's nice to just like mixing down a little bit. Again, it's a bit of a gig, really. And it all sort of, the inky side of it all stems from, again, what I said before, when people wash possibly once a week before going to church and that sort of thing. So guys used to come in their hair used to stink, and you wet it down and wet the hair, it's stinky, smelly and worse. Originally, yeah. So they used to just freshen up the hair and kind of make it nicer. Now that it's like a tonic, what it does is it allows it to sort of break through any product that you've got on there. It does make it smell nice. And it just feels nice as well, because you're already working on something into the cuticles, so you're starting to smooth those down and you're kind of getting that kind of softness to it. But I'll be honest, primarily it's all about the smell of it, really.
So, yeah, when you walk in the barber shop, it's just got that lovely smell, isn't it? It's lovely. So we use it a lot, don't we?
Yeah.
The boys even got it at home, actually. Cool. Any more questions, guys?
Right, now I've got into his hair, okay, I wouldn't perm his hair, okay, not this particular client, okay, I'm going to share with you the technique and everything, but if I had a client who was thinking about having a perm, if I had a client who was thinking about having a perm, I would probably tong it or get him to have a flavour on it. But he's got so much curl in his hair, I'd actually probably educate him a little bit more how to handle that curl, let's put it that way. Does that make sense? Because, I mean, I've just buff dried it off and he's got this amazing texture in there, and I'll probably work with that texture a little bit more, but I am going to tong it just to show you what I do if I was pointing somebody into the area of a perm. So.
Thank you, Mark. What was the question? Jamie, can you just, questions, how much do you charge in barbers for a haircut?
25 quid.
25 quid.
Don't charge more for fades, don't charge more for long hair, it's just 25 quid. Nice and simple.
And we work on a membership scheme which works really well. So guys become a member, like a gym member, and then they can come in and get haircuts when they want. That works really well. Absolutely.
Quite a few gents.
Yeah.
And when I do my perming, I texturise my perming technique, so I might weave before in between, so I'm not getting that what I call the old-fashioned bubble curl.
Definitely,
so
yeah.
I'm getting that technique.
Yeah.
It's also educating, and then they come in with these pictures and they see the old Kevin Keegan. I'm a bit old, so
Yeah.
the old
Kevin Boo.
Yeah.
But this is absolutely, that's where I'm heading for, rather than getting the guys,
Yeah.
like bubble curls, and you're getting that line, so I don't, I actually perm it,
Yeah.
and then I take a roller out in between, so you're not getting that line,
Yeah.
and I actually use direction.
Yeah.
Where do you mean?
Yeah.
It's all, it's a bit like what you just said earlier, it's about personalising, it's making our job interesting, because there's nothing worse than standing there like we used to do
Yeah,
years ago. Your sections, your hand sections, or your top perms, it's so boring, so you're creating that look.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with it. I would turn around and say that on a, you're right, I was going to get into that, there's like a top perm and it's old-fashioned in there. So I would turn around and say, again, me and Jamie, we spoke about texture quite a lot and said texture's really important. I mean, your weaving technique on your perm line, getting different size rollers in there so you're getting an uneven curl result. Yeah, super. And also what I would do, if I was to perm this, even though he's got a natural wave and not a perm, if I was, I would probably raise at the top a little bit. So I'd actually get a little bit of texture in from the razor. And then when we curl it, if there's bits that are out, they're out. And if they're in, and then you're getting that more of a natural kind of flavour with it as well.
Getting away from the rules of the perming as well with the guy, because you
Yes.
don't see that line.
You're right, it's like breaking the rules, isn't it? Yeah, good question. Thanks very much for that.
Cool. Jamie, you're doing a bit of wizardry over there. A few people are taking photos and stuff from over here.
Chipping in.
Just create texture.
Texture, it's all about texture. So coming in from different angles, you're going to get a plethora of different lengths. So the more you kind of like break that structure, get some movement in there, the more it's going to move. Do I have to repeat what I just said?
Yeah, sorry.
Going out with Jamie is like going out of Edward Scissorhands.
It's all about texture. So, you know when you hold hair up, it's a club cut, it's a clean line. When you hold it up, you chip in, you're point cutting, you're getting a little bit of texture. If you accelerate the pitch and depth that you're cutting at, so if you want it to be a little bit more kind of disconnected and chunky, you keep it shallow. If you want it to have a little bit more softness and gentleness, you go steep and deep. And it's combining the two together so that you kind of soften the structure. You can get a little bit more movement in the hair, and even when the hair's really quite strong in its own direction, you can break it. When you feel it, it's just soft. It just feels movable. You can move it, you can make some shapes. And again, it allows you to kind of still get that kind of cool, deliberate kind of like crispness to a crop, but at the same time, just break it, be a bit punk. Have some fun, get some texture going, get the movement into the hair. And that's why I sort of cut it at different angles and use more scissors. So I can get angles that I wouldn't get, you know? It's all about angle when you get the angle wrong, it's nice and enjoyable.
Cool. Guys, we're starting to wrap up. Jamie, did you have another pre-done model here?
Yes. Yeah.
Do you remember his name?
No.
Do you want to describe it for us?
Triangular.
Triangular. Do we have another pre-done model? Is the guy at the back there that we... He went.
He gone?
Yeah, he had to get trained. He had to get trained.
He's had his hair cut and now
It
he's
was
done
the
a
best
run-up.
one.
Yeah, it was the best haircut
Honestly.
I've ever done. Oh, I don't know what to say.
When you say triangular, was that him or the haircut?
Him.
He was triangular.
Yeah. It's not quite as much as this guy, but
So basically he's just got 3 haircut and done one.
it was a lovely haircut though.
It was lovely. Honestly, it was lovely, yeah.
Put him on Crime Watch.
Yeah, we could do that, couldn't we? Have you seen this man? Triangular. Nice hair. Smells of bacon. Probably. And other things. He worked out a lot, that boy, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not going to chase it for the price of the haircut. It's big.
If you call him, I don't know what you do, to be honest. Carry on. We're getting towards the end. Guys, any questions towards the back? I'm aware we've got a lot at the front. I'm going to make sure I've seen everyone who's got a question. Any questions for these guys before we start to wrap up now?
How do you avoid getting...
Are you going to ask him where his magic torch is? No, okay. So,
How do you avoid putting lines in, and how do you get them out?
Smoothly, move smoothly. There's lots of different ways where you see like people with the clippers and they're kind of like doing a lot of rubbing and a lot of pushing and digging and carving and stuff. And that's all very nice unless you're underneath. It hurts, like constantly rubbing. You cause irritation to the scalp. There's roughness there. I think of it a bit like you iron a shirt. You just kind of do that. Yeah. If you go at it like that, you're not going to get it smooth. You're going to put it in a crease. You've got to then work that crease back out. Sometimes it's nice to have a slight crease, that kind of little pleat, if you will. Other times you just want the smoothness to it. So move smoothly. Keep yourself fluid. Another thing I tend to do a lot as well is, you probably see, I use both hands with my clippers. And that's so that I can use this hand to pivot. So when you're working, everything's just smooth. Like my arms don't need to do a lot. It's all in the wrist. So that's what I would do, really. Move smoothly.
great tips, mate. Any more questions, guys? You're just drinking, aren't you? I thought you were like... Okay. So, I think the question is, how do you feel about barber shops that are opening up around, probably in every city in the UK, but they're doing very cheap haircuts? Where probably a lot of us are probably trying to up our game and charge more. Would that be fair to say? Yeah. Is that a question? Yeah. How do you feel about the guys that are out there as a professional barber and they're charging very little for haircuts?
Do you know what? It's fine, because it doesn't really matter how much you charge, it's what you do. So if someone goes to a shop and they spend a lot of money and the haircut's rubbish, they won't go back. If they go somewhere that spends hardly any money at all and it's rubbish, you don't go back. So I think I'm being incredibly diplomatic.
I think you carry on secondly.
I think it's fine. I think competition's good, competition's healthy.
The guy who I did before, he's obviously been somewhere and he wasn't happy with his haircut, and I said to him, how much did you pay for a haircut? And it was a very small amount. And it's almost like, well, if, you know, you might go in that kind of shop and you're okay with that, but he obviously wasn't happy with his hair, so and then I think you just need to upgrade a little bit, don't you, or find yourself someone else who you're happy with.
I think that's it. People are looking for different things, and if you want an experience
Yeah.
and a professional cut, then
Yeah.
you're prepared to pay for it, aren't you?
I mean,
Whereas-
you're right. I mean, Jamie charges £25 for a gent's haircut, you know, and you might be able to go to another barber's and they charge £18.50, and it's just, you're like, people want different things, don't they? You know, they might want Jamie's touch of bringing in a little bit of hairdressing and softening it up a little bit. They might like his pink products. No. But, you know, my clients are quite different to Jamie's clients. You know, they come into the hairdressing salon because they like that environment. You know, they don't feel uncomfortable in that environment. Whereas, you know, some of Jamie's clients won't want to come into my salon, and some of my clients won't want to go into Jamie's barbershop. They just don't want that kind of experience. But for me, it's all about, I want my male market to be as big as possible. You know, and the way these guys have been doing hair for the last 4 or 5 years, it's made me up my game. It's made me, you know, change the way I do guys' hair a little bit. You know, even if it means reskilling yourself to be able to take it much shorter. But at the same time, I think there's I don't know if you all agree with me, but especially the barbers in the audience, I think there is a shift that's going to happen very soon, and I think it's happening. You know, like we said, perming and a little bit more texture and almost like a little bit more creative. Would you agree with that, Jamie? Or yeah. What about you guys? Would you agree with that, or?
So, sorry, you had a comment about that in the middle of that.
I was just saying, I think careers, I think we've educated a lot of big guys think it looks okay, but I think they have a look.
Yeah.
I can tell when they've done it.
Yeah, we can.
It's
I mean,
like a bit of a crouch, sharply sort of.
men's expectations are climbing very fast. You know, what they expected and what they thought was good in their hair and their fashion 5 years ago, 10 years ago, it's accelerating like that. We are the most expensive barbershop in our area, and people can get a cheaper haircut right down to a couple of pounds.
I think that with the cheap haircuts that men are getting, it's working in favour for the barbershop that I work at, because we're not particularly expensive and we're not particularly cheap. It's all about people from 12 to 15 pounds.
Yeah.
But that works massively in our favour because we charge that little bit more, but they're getting the old school normal experience. But then we're going to, like, say for example, when you go to the right, no, it's still going to choose more.
Yeah.
But again, like I say, they are going to get a crack haircut, but then they'll realise that when you've got that crack haircut, that why don't we go somewhere else anyway?
Yeah.
And pay that little bit more. Because we've noticed at the minute, in what we're doing, and that's where I work at the moment, that there's literally been 6 barbershops open in the town centre that are charging £4 to £6 for the haircuts. And that's like £6 for a skin fade, which it's ridiculous because doing it, like, you're doing a skin fade in 15 minutes, that's just not how we should be doing it. And that is where they're all empty. They're absolutely empty. That we're packed because they're like, we don't want to go there anymore. We're getting that.
Yeah.
I think it's working in favour.
Absolutely. So, I mean, barbering's been around forever. It's never going to go away. Is it a trend at the moment? Is it fashionable to own a barber's, open a barber's, work as a barber? Yeah, absolutely.
There's too many barbershops. Too many barbershops.
Will that change over time? Will barbering become less of a trend? Who knows what the future? But yeah, I think it will definitely change. Things move, don't they? Things don't stay the same way. They either spiral down or spiral up. Okay, they never just stay static. And if you try to stay static, you spiral down. So, as professionals, what we do is we do what we do, and we do it to the best of our ability. And we don't mind if there are other places that are overcharging us. That's what they do. It's not what we do. So we just do what we do. But how many blokes are there in the country? Anyone know? I don't know that. Does anyone know any in our country? I'll tell you something, there's a flipping lot, isn't there? There's a lot of blokes and they all need haircuts, so let's all just do what we do. That looks cracking, Mike. I like that.
Thank you.
So guys, as we're wrapping up, my question for Mike, and I know Mike's a professional, he's done this for a long time, he'll incorporate my question and what he's done with that hair in one answer. So my question for you, Michael, is where do you see men's cutting going in the future, men's styling from a hairdresser's point of view?
And tell us what you've done.
Yeah, I think I've already covered quite a lot of it. I think men's hair, we're going to see a lot more texture in the haircuts. So I think it's going to be a much softer. I don't think we're going to be seeing quite. You're still going to have skin fades. They're always going to be there, short back and side skin fade or whatever. But I think we're just coming away from that a little bit. A lot more texture. I think colouring's really important in guys' hair. And also even down to perming and stuff like that. But you know, I've toned through the top here again just to get that little bit of texture in it. I've left it almost like a graduated bob shape through the sides and the back, so it's almost like slightly feminised shape or a softer shape than feminised shape. So a slightly softer shape instead of just tapering it right in. And I think that fits better with, if you are going to do perms, then I think that fits in better with that by leaving the shape slightly softer. So, yeah, I mean, basically when he does his hair himself, he just literally just rubs it and he just leaves it, and the fun, we like that as it is, don't we? So, sorry? Yeah. I didn't want to scare him. He's like, I thought the tongs was enough. Tonguing his hair up, but yeah. So yeah, I hope. I mean, what we tried to do tonight is we tried to give you, you know, we've got a professional barber, we've got a hairdresser, and I wanted to share my ideas, what's happening, what we're doing in the salon. Jamie's obviously been sharing a lot of knowledge, and I've really enjoyed working with Jamie over the last couple of days, really, going out and having a couple of Guinnesses last night. We were just talking shop, basically. But, he still wasn't quite ready for my products yet, were you, Jamie? No. But yeah, cool. Thank you very much indeed.
Okay, Jamie, how you doing? You just finishing up now? You need a bit longer, or?
No, just putting a little bit of moisturiser on the neck.
Yeah, light for you? Everything good? Lighting, everything all right?
Yeah, it'll work.
Okay, so we'll just let him finish up there. What do you think Mike's look? It's not really. Cool. Let me ask you guys, where do you think the future's going for men's haircutting? What do you think is going to be next?
I think it's only just started. I think it's going back because, as you were talking about like the unisex hairdressing and stuff like that, I think the old school barbering really went down, like downhill at one point. I'd say around about the 90s when the mod cuts came in, and that's when. I believe that's when hairdressers started to obviously go into the unisex with unisex barbering as well. And then at the minute, I genuinely think it is coming back. I hate this thing where barbering is trendy at the minute. Absolutely hate it, because it took me nearly 2.5 years to actually try and get in somewhere to teach me, because I couldn't afford the funding and stuff like that. That is. The trendiness is something that I try to stay away from, because I don't want it to be trendy. I want it to be professional and do you get what I mean?
Yeah, and I think you're right, and I think it will, like these guys have talked about, I think, you know, hairdressing and barbering will switch over. We'll be sharing ideas and moving forward together and creating more professionalism. So I think you're cool. Jamie, can you just round up what you've done there? And at the same time, tell us where you think hairdressing's going, haircutting's going for men. Barber.
Yeah, basically what it is, you can see kind of like we softened the disconnection, haven't completely eliminated it. Because sometimes, why do that? And then with the top, a lot of texture. He's got very direct straight hair, so it allows it to kind of jut out. So when you see it from the side, it's got that kind of, I don't know the word, stabiness about it. Which I quite like, and then heavier towards the fringe again, so you've got that kind of solidness, it's got that kind of swoop to it. You can push it, you can style it, you can leave it alone. So this is what we've done here. And in answer to What's the future? Yeah. I think it's going to become a lot more bespoke. It's about creating the shape of the person, not picking a style from a poster. It's not about kind of like, oh, we do 7 haircuts. It's, no, you don't. Every single haircut is different. Every single person is different. And that's what it's got to be. If that means that barbers will have to learn to do a bit of colour, do a bit of perm, do a bit of plaiting, so what? Like, barbers did that before. Like, there weren't hairdressers, there was only barbers. And then in the 1200s, hairdressers came into fruition. Women at fence got their hair done by their friends and their family at home. Guys went to a barber shop. So barbers existed a long time ago. Culturally, people go and barbering, it's about hanging out. It's not necessarily just about the haircut. It's the time out. Like, again, I don't really get strung up for this, but for a guy, you're either at work or you're working through the list of jobs that you've got when you get home. So your time in the barbers is your time. That's your time to relax. As fashion changes and people want to look better, people need to look better. You know, there's so many different social media filters now that if you don't look good, you're left behind, you're out of it. Whether it's a swipe to the left or whatever. You kind of have to up your game, you have to look good. But it has to suit you, and that's why I think it's going to be a bit more bespoke. It's going to blend in with some hairdressing things, but what's wrong with that? That's not a bad thing. It's as long as the client's getting something, the gent's getting something, you're getting something, everyone benefits from you just having more knowledge, more passion about what you want to do and why you want to do it.
Thank you, Jamie. So guys, they've done some cracking work for you, haven't they? Have you liked it? Have you enjoyed it? Have you got anything out of it? Some techniques, some ideas to take away? We just wanted to spark that little debate, really. I'd like to thank you guys, because you sat through like nearly 2 hours here of us debating hairdressers, barbers, what's big in haircutting, where it's going. You've been absolutely fantastic audience, so thanks for your time here. This has been a great event from Doncaster College with Lee Stafford Education, and I hope you've had a really, really good time, and I hope to see you again in the future sometime. Give these guys a round of applause. Guys, all the mummies will be around at the back, so as you make your way out, feel free to come up and ask any questions personally you do want to ask, and have a safe journey home. Cheers.
Hello, mate. All right. Oh, yeah. Okay. Good. Thanks.